We don't want to hear you say nigga no more. What it do? This is your brother Bishop of Bishop Zone TV. And y'all already know what it do. Y'all know what it is. I got to give my Kendrick Lamar euphoria reaction. I gotta give you some reactions because I feel like this is a very pivotal moment in hip hop right now. We hadn't really seen this type of energy in hip hop for a while. We haven't experienced this for a whole minute, but we got to talk about this. A lot of people, of course, are giving their opinions. They're giving their takes. Some people, I'm surprised, but then I'm not surprised at their response to Kendrick's diss. And who's winning this battle right now? Who's winning? Is it Drake or is it Kendrick? Well, if you've been on my channel for quite some time, you know that I am not a Drake fan. I am not a Drake fan. I am a Kendrick Lamar fan. I'm very much so a Kendrick Lamar fan. I'm not a stan, but I am a fan of Kendrick Lamar. And where am I going to go? Am I going to go with Drake? Am I going to go with Kendrick? Am I going to be biased or am I going to be unbiased? Well, me personally, I'm too grown. I'm too grown out here to be biased for any man. Nobody is paying my bills. And I'm just going to give it to you straight. As honest and as fair as possible. Me personally, Kendrick Lamar officially separated himself from this big three talk. Motherfucker, big three. Nigga, it's just big me. Nigga, boom. Officially. Because, and I'm going to be fair with my criticism. I'm going to be fair with my take. When Drake dropped Push Up, my initial response was, that was solid. Okay, like, I probably grade him on a curve because I didn't expect him to come at Kendrick the way he came at Kendrick. And so I was like, damn, that was actually pretty cool. That was pretty dope. Okay. You know, he had 3 or 4 lines that stood out. You know, it was some lines in there I was like, that was kind of weak. But for the most part, I thought it was solid. With, like I said, 3 or 4 lines that I was like, okay, that was kind of hitting. The opening line, I was like, okay, I fucked with that. Then he dropped Tailor Made, and I was like, I was real indifferent on that one. You know, I didn't like him using Tupac's voice, who is no longer here, to basically defend his pedophilia behavior. And we'll get into that later. But yes, like, nah, dude, don't use Pac. To me, that showed how disconnected Drake is to the culture. How disconnected he is. And when I say the culture, I want to make sure I make this very precise and clear. I'm talking about black culture. Black culture here in the States. But it shows how disconnected he is to a culture that he tries to pander and, in my opinion, use as a caricature to make his money off of, right? Kendrick's this, euphoria. No gimmicks, no antics, none of that trolling shit on Twitter, just straight boss. Murdered him. Man, man, let me tell you, from the beginning to the end, when Kendrick starts it out in a calm, he's really sitting them down in class and like, look, son, you a scammer. You a scam artist. You lied about my family. You're fake. FUBU ain't in your collection. You not us. And that Teddy Pendergrass beat, right? That's just classic. And then he just, boom, he went from one tone to another tone and kept going up. And it was just quotable after quotable after quotable. I don't give a goddamn what anybody talking about. I don't care if y'all talking about, man, we heard this before. We heard it with Pusha T. Tell us something. That's why Drake can't lose. Because we've heard these things, man. I don't give a damn about that. It ain't about what you say necessarily. It's the context of the things that you're saying, along with all the other venom that you're spitting in the track. The man had bars on top of bars. And a lot of these Drake stans are delusional right now. A lot of them are losing it, because Drake, in my opinion, he's like the Taylor Swift of hip hop. In every facet of his persona, he's like the Taylor Swift of hip hop. Very inauthentic, very manufactured. I'm not saying he's a plant, but his whole persona, his whole catalog is really anti-hip hop. But it fits right into this standard. But it fits right in with today's climate of hip hop, where people don't value the genre as a culture anymore. It's just something to vibe to. It's just something to dance to. We don't give a goddamn about any of that authenticity. We don't give a damn about the culture, the four elements. We don't care. We just want to have a good time. We just want to drink, smoke, and have a good time. And Drake is really he's really the engine right now behind that type of hip hop, which is not really hip hop. It's more so the commercialism, the overly commercialism of hip hop. And so right now I'm seeing the people, a large percentage of the people right now, from what I'm seeing, is saying Kendrick killed this man. You look at some of the articles, some of the publications, these are people who really value lyricism, value the art of hip hop. It seems to be in Kendrick's favor. But then you got a few goofies, a few old goofies too, like Cameron, Mace. And by the way, I used to be a fan of Cameron and Mace. I don't have anything personally against them, but I'm just gonna keep it real. The Camerons, the Maces, the Gilly, the kids, the academics, these are some low-level thinking Negroes. These Negroes are very lowbrow, intellectual type people. And I shouldn't even really put intellect in the same sentence as some of these guys, but they're very lowbrow, very low level way of thinking. I mean, Cameron is the same guy who embarrassed himself in front of Bill O'Reilly. So I don't expect this man to really appreciate an artist like Kendrick. You know, Kendrick wasn't barring Drake to death. When I say barring, like, he wasn't just overly complicated. He wasn't MF Doom on the mic. It was really clever, and it takes some level of consciousness to really grasp how severe the bars were, but it wasn't so complicated where it's like, I gotta get a thesaurus out to figure this shit out. Nah, it wasn't that. But again, when you're talking about low-level thinking people, when you talk about dudes who really thrive off coonery and buffoonery, someone like Kendrick will intimidate them. And so they did. Now, I'm not saying they don't have a right to their opinion, but I just find it funny that a Cameron or a Gilly, for example, who have put out diss records themselves, and their diss records were pretty trash. I mean, I remember when Gilly dissed Lil Wayne, with that Stunt Like Your Daddy instrumental, and that shit was garbage. And Cameron with the Curtis. Yeah, the phone interview was funny, but the actual diss record was garbage. I'm just gonna keep it real. And I rocked with Cameron. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't really for the lyricism. I mean, his better days of lyricism was when he was with Entertainment. And back when he first joined Rockefeller, you know, Come Home With Me. But it wasn't touching Kendrick's catalog. It's not touching Kendrick's. And same for Mace. I was there. I was a huge Mace fan. And I'm not taking anything away from Mace. But none of these cats, they not coming close to Kendrick. And so I think it's a lot of people who, again, if you gravitate towards some ignorant ass shit, then you gonna rock with that. But if you can't get with what Kendrick was saying, and then you just dismissing it as trash, like, the fuck out of here. I don't want to hear that right now. I don't want to hear that. You telling me the whole thing don't have any kind of bars. And I really feel as though this is a small minority, but the minority that is pushing this happen to be industry people. A few industry people with a platform to try to sway you. Some of these people have a financial relationship with Drake too. I've seen some of these interviews where they shout out Drake because Drake looked out for them. So they might not want to bite the hand and feed them. But Kendrick touched on at least 90% of why I don't rock with Drake. Nobody questions. For those who are talking about, why is he bringing up race? Why is he bringing up? I see some of the lighter complexion, the complexion for protections, the salties, feeling some kind of way about Kendrick. But it's a reason why he's not coming at J. Cole on him being biracial or any other biracial person other than Drake. And it's because Drake is inauthentic. You are from Canada, which is nothing wrong. I know Canada got some real street goons and whatever. Nobody's knocking the hard streets with Canada. But you're from an affluent, predominantly Jewish community. It's actually the most affluent Jewish community in all of North America. But then you've put on this caricature with a Jerry curl and a grill in your mouth and rollers in your head, like you from Compton. The audacity. And that's what you pander to the black community. That's what you pander. See, you shallow, superficial Negroes don't understand that because y'all just want to vibe. But you can't tell me no lines that really stood out, that really stick after the fact in Drake's push-up song. And this is coming from somebody who said he had 3 or 4 lines. I thought he did. Then a week went by, I forgot the lines, honestly. Something about Interscope, okay. And I'm not saying it was a terrible song, but it's mediocre at best. And when you put it against Kendrick's response, then it just looks elementary. It looks elementary. Again, I was never a Drake fan, so maybe I am biased. But who gives a shit? You see it yourself. You see the people. You see a lot of people breaking down the lyrics, breaking down the lines. That's an appreciation. That's an art. If I was Drake, I would not respond back. Drake, I'll give him this. He at least has enough people to trump him up as a winner, or at least someone who can go, it could go 50-50. Some people could say Kendrick, some people could say Drake. I say Kendrick. But he has enough of that to say, you know what, I'm not going to engage in the back and forth. He can just kind of bow out and say, I'm not going to respond to that shit, knowing it hurt him. But he can at least say that. Because Kendrick, I believe, as venomous as that diss record was, Kendrick didn't go as hard as he could. Kendrick didn't go as hard as he could. And I think that's going to be a real problem for Drake if he responds. And I do believe Drake, with his superficial, egotistical ways, him wanting so desperately to be accepted, I think he will respond. And if he responds, I think Kendrick, he's going to take off the gloves all the way. And he might mention a lot of that pedo shit. He might mention no pedo, Elvis groomer type patterns that Drake tends to have. I don't know if Drake is ready for that, because ain't nobody really tested Drake on his weird relationship with Millie Bobby Brown. That incident on stage years ago where he was upset that the girl was younger than 18. I don't think people really have tested him on that. You know, like, what's that about with you and Swaties or Swati, whatever her name? What's with you dating her little sister? Yeah, she's 21, but that looks suspect. You almost pushing 40. You clearly have a pattern, sir. And I know Kendrick was tempting that when he said, I electrify him, you pacify him. I'm just saying. So, all right, let me know what y'all think. If you think Drake won, cool. If you think Kendrick won, hey, let it be known. And until next time, get at your brother. Holla.